Coming up on FSU Headlines. Florida State welcomes the class of 2021. FSU tests disaster response with drones. And an FSU celebrity comes home. Stay tuned for these stories and more. FSU Headlines starts now. Hello and welcome to Florida State University and another edition of FSU Headlines. I'm your host, Dennis Schnitker. 6,500 new students are now on the Florida State campus, and what better way to offer a warm welcome than at new Student Convocation. This celebration of Florida State traditions marks the beginning of these students' college careers. Take a look.
So this is new Student Convocation, and it's really the last opportunity that students can get together, see their orientation leaders, hang out with their friends before classes officially start.
On behalf of the faculty, the staff, the current FSU students, we welcome the entering class of 2017 to our new Student Convocation.
I have been so hyped for this for the longest time, and I've been waiting the entire summer to get here, and to be here now it's overwhelming. It's awesome. I'm excited.
We need your bright minds focused on solving our challenges and improving the human condition.
I've dreamed about it mostly for my academic career. I wanted to come here for the College of Music, which is phenomenal, and it's the place to go if you're in Florida. So if you're a musician, then you need to be here. And just that was the driving motivation, but having all of the culture of FSU and all of the traditions that go with it to support that just kind of increases the entire vision as a whole.
The three torches on the Florida State seal, Viris, Artes, and Mores, represent some of the core values of the university that we hope to see embodied in its students, its faculty, its staff. Strength, skill, and character.
Very same that brought you here today will sustain you throughout a life well lived. Congratulations, good luck, and Godspeed.
So one last thing, God bless you and go Noles.
Some of those incoming freshman students learn to lead and serve at Florida State before school ever begins. FSU Headlines reporter Mark Vaughn caught up with the group to see just how Service Leadership Seminar helps them get a jump start on college.
If that person gets tagged, they have to join that team.
Nearly 45 freshman students arrived a week early to participate in Florida State University's Service Leadership Seminar.
The Service Leadership Seminar is a week-long program for first-year students to introduce them to what leadership is, identity development, and community service.
1, 2, 3.
They start off their week with some team building at the FSU Res.
We take them out to FSU Challenge at the FSU Reservation, and so they engage in about 3.5 hours of team building activities. It's a great way for first-year students to get to know campus a little bit earlier than other folks, but it also gives them a chance to get to know people from different aspects of life, different social identities, and to engage in a really cool program that not many folks get to be a part of.
And from there, the students share in a week of community service projects before ever setting foot in a college classroom. These freshmen give up that coveted last week of summer to learn how to be even better leaders, all while getting involved at FSU and in the Tallahassee community.
The reason as to why someone would want to be a part of the program, again, is to sort of try and discover parts of themselves that they never really had the opportunity to assess or challenge before. What we try and do here is sort of facilitate and guide that process into that development and into that growth.
You can still put your foot on it.
Some of these students spend time at the second harvest of the Big Bend, where they organize food items and lend a helping hand wherever they're needed.
And we also do service in the community, so they get to go visit at least 3 different service agencies in the community and perform service at one of them.
Trading in a little extra summertime to sort food and pack backpacks isn't just about the physical work they're doing. It's about the life lessons that they're learning and how those lessons will benefit them throughout their time at Florida State and beyond.
It encouraged me to actually go and challenge myself more rather than sit in spaces where I was comfortable with. It challenged me to engage with different sorts of people. It challenged me to open up my mind and open up my experience to things that I may not have aligned myself with otherwise.
The service leadership seminar also spends time getting to know one another. Along with the leadership exercises and service trips, they participate in workshops where upperclassmen and faculty members talk with them about a wide range of topics that will help them to make the most of their collegiate experience.
The service leadership seminar is definitely something that I was lucky to have found, and it's something that has really defined a lot of how I have gone through my university experience here at Florida State. And I really do encourage a lot of students, if not with SLS, then try and get engaged with something in the Center of Leadership and Social Change.
It gives me chills thinking about the impact that not only I have on the students or the center has on the students, but what they have on themselves. So we kind of give them the information to learn, but then they teach each other. I think the students that take advantage of this really set themselves up to learn how to better engage in the community. So if we're trying to create change, we have to look at ourselves first and look at the group that we're with and how does that interact in the community. And so I think it sets them up to be really successful after they leave this space.
For FSU Headlines, I'm Mark Vaughn.
The Service Leadership Seminar is offered by Florida State's Center for Leadership and Social Change. Florida State University is one of the nation's top public research institutions, and as such, it's home to more than just undergraduate students.
Let me welcome you here to this great institution, and hey, it's going to be fun.
You can call this Florida State University 101 for the graduate student. Each year, Florida State welcomes a large group of advanced degree seekers to campus during the graduate school's new student orientation. New grad students learn all about Florida State during the day-long event. And aside from meeting new people and learning all about the services available to them, Interim Dean of Florida State's Graduate School, Mark Riley, says orientation can play an important role in jump-starting a graduate student's career at FSU, while showing them how important they are to the university's mission.
Well, it's our chance to tell them a little bit about the campus, the life here at FSU, how wonderful it is, and I want them to know how excited we are for them to be here and become part of the FSU family, because they really make a huge difference to all aspects of the campus here at FSU. And you know, what they do with their research and working with their professors and postdocs, etc. It's what makes life at the university fun, and they're the ones that are helping to change the world of research.
First-year medical students receive one of the most iconic symbols of the medical profession in a time-honored tradition.
This is a very special day for our first-year class, the class of 2021 from the FSU College of Medicine.
We'll take you to the white coat ceremony when FSU Headlines continues in a moment.
What does preeminence look like?
Moonlight, Best Picture.
Florida State University.
When you buy a Florida State University license plate,
You're not just showing your school spirit.
You're supporting students like us.
in the lab,
In the classroom.
And in the library.
putting this tag on your vehicle helps Florida State students achieve their dreams. So show your pride. Purchase an FSU license plate today.
Welcome back to FSU Headlines. I'm Dennis Schnitker. The National High Magnetic Field Laboratory here at Florida State University is no stranger to record-breaking magnets. In fact, the Mag Lab has set 15 world records, and now it can add one more to the list. While the rest of the country watched the solar eclipse, engineers at the Florida State University headquartered National Mag Lab pulled off an eclipse of a different sort. They reclaimed the record for the world's strongest resistive magnet. It was a record the Mag Lab held for 19 years until 2014. The new magnet is about 8% stronger than the old magnet, a sizable leap in magnet technology terms.
All resistive magnets in many ways make the most flexible magnetic field for you. And so to win that technology means that we will be able to study some materials that change their magnetic state or their electric state. They may go from being a metal to an insulator, or from a superconductor to a metal when you turn on the magnetic field. Well, if your material happens to do that at 40 Tesla, you couldn't study that material before. And you never know ahead of time which materials are going to have what we call phase transitions in that window between 35 and 41.5 Tesla. And so it just opens up the number of compounds, the number of materials for which our magnetic fields are big enough.
Okay, so the effort has been known in-house as Project 11, a reference to the 1984 mockumentary film This Is Spinal Tap, about a fictional rock group. You may remember in that film, a guitarist shows off his unique amplifier, which has a top setting of 11, one notch higher than the standard 10. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and Florida State University's Emergency Management and Homeland Security program teamed up recently for a special drone operation here on Landis Green. Take a look.
Hey, Travis, can we get an audio-video check with the drone, please?
It's that building here, that building, and Stroger, right?
We're very excited to be here. This is an opportunity for FEMA to work with state and locals as well as the university to help develop standards for imagery capture.
Right now, we've got an Inspire 1 hovering.
We're working with FEMA Region 4 to develop a standard for drone imagery that can be used as part of the preliminary damage assessment process, which is a key point after a disaster to get that recovery going. So we're hoping that the UAS imagery, the drone imagery, can help make that process faster and more effective.
It's important that we have imagery on what happened first, what happened while the event was happening, and then the state it's in currently. So if we have all that imagery, it helps our folk who process this data have an opportunity to make quicker decisions along with the municipalities. And what we're moving toward is a system where we don't do as many windshield PAs where we're driving around looking at everything. Potentially we could take this imagery, put it up on a screen or a board, and have the state and locals, as well as us, look at this imagery and make some decisions about just how bad the effects were.
With things like with the unmanned aircraft systems, if we can do jobs that don't put people in danger, then that's always a good thing.
We're out. Thank you. Everyone's free to drop. This is a great opportunity for us. We're happy to be here. And we'd like to thank FSU again for allowing us to come on campus and get this done.
And Professor Merrick and some of his students took what they developed here on campus and put them into action recently during Hurricane Harvey in Texas. They provided support to emergency responders in damage assessment efforts. A Florida State University researcher is working with art therapists to find better ways to treat children who have autism spectrum disorder. Assistant Professor of Art Therapy Teresa Van Lith is leading a new study to develop guidelines for using art therapy to help treat clients with autism spectrum disorder. In the study, Van Lith and her collaborators found the best anecdotal successes from art therapists and then developed a set of best practice guidelines. The idea is to create a uniform set of treatments for clients with ASD and make art therapy even more effective.
The art therapy allows us to go straight into the visual representation of how someone sees and experiences their world. And for people who have autism spectrum disorder, many times they have a greater sense of awareness of their visual representation of the world. And they're highly attuned to different sensory experiences. So with art therapists, we find that we can use a variety of art materials, whether it's those that tap into the cognitive level, which I would say is sort of like drawing materials, or art materials that might tap into more the kinesthetic, which is using your hands like clay and molding things. And that variety really seems to be effective with this population.
An unstable childhood can lead to overeating and obesity, according to new research by a Florida State University professor. People who experience unpredictable childhoods touched by issues like divorce, crime, or frequent moves face a higher risk of becoming obese as adults. That's according to a new study by Florida State University professor of psychology, John Maynor. In his study, Maynor found that people who had an unpredictable childhood tended to overeat, while those who experienced a more stable childhood did not.
Yeah, I got you. Humans, like other organisms, when they experience this level of unpredictability as a child, they learn that the future is hard to predict, so you better get what you can now. And so a fast life history strategy is really all about using up the resources you have now, because it's really tough to know what you're going to have a year from now or even a month from now. What we find is that kids who experienced unpredictable life events early in their childhood, they were more inclined than those who had a predictable childhood to adopt this fast life history strategy, and in turn to eat even when they're not hungry. So most people tend to eat when their body tells them that they're hungry. But if you experienced an environment in childhood that says, well, it's very difficult to predict what's going to happen next week or even tomorrow, well, you better eat what you have while you can, is the mindset. And indeed, what we find is that people who experienced an unpredictable childhood, they tend to overeat, they tend to eat even when they're not hungry, and this leads to obesity.
Florida State's newest class of medical students received their white coats during a special ceremony that teaches the ideals of the profession. Take a look at how FSU welcomed the newest class of medical students to the College of Medicine.
This is a very special day for our first year class, the class of 2021 from the FSU College of Medicine. We're really bestowing upon them one of the symbols of the profession, the white coat. It's a tough road. It's tough to get into medical school. It's very, very competitive. They really feel like that they've made it. They have the opportunity to, show in front of their family, their friends, all the people that are here, that they really deserve to be here.
Savannah Williams.
The first word that comes to my mind is excited, but that word doesn't really do it justice, how I feel right now.
Alex Bramlage.
It's so surreal. I just can't even put it into words. I guess like if you just won a championship race or won a championship game, it's just such a great feeling to know that you've put in so much work throughout this past 10 weeks. And just watching everyone come across the stage and get their coats is just such an amazing feeling. And then getting mine myself, it's just, everything's just coming full circle, and it's so surreal and so amazing.
It's an exciting day for them. Lots of their family members, loved ones have showed up to witness this. It really is a transformation for them to move into the profession of medicine.
Richmond Larea.
I'm also really excited to embark on a journey that many people before me have done, and to be a part of it and to make my mark in this thing called medicine. Healing people's lives, shaping people's lives, being their mentor, being their coach, being their friend, just being there for people.
When you're interacting with your patient, that's what it's all about. Forget all the studying, you're tired and you're just like, oh, I learned so much stuff. But when you think about it, it's not about how much you can learn, it's about how you can apply that to the patient who will be depending on you in the future. So that's what it's all about, and that's what made me persevere, and that's just how I know I'm supposed to be here doing this.
They have about 10 days off now. They know when they come back, they're going to have to continue to work hard. They're going to have to learn what they need to learn. They're going to have to learn the attributes, the skills, the knowledge, the behaviors, the professional ethics of being a doctor. There's a lot ahead of them, but they're very excited about today.
Coming up next on FSU Headlines, fall sports are back in action. We'll take a look at how all the teams are doing when FSU Headlines continues in a moment. Welcome back to FSU Headlines, and welcome back to Florida State University. I'm Dennis Schnitker. A new semester here means the campus comes alive with activities, and we can't talk about fall without talking about sports. On the football field, the Florida State football team opened the season against Alabama, but they're not done yet. They've still got a pretty tough schedule ahead, and they'll be joined in action by soccer, cross country, and volleyball all semester long. FSU Headlines reporter Mark Vaughn joins us now to let us know what matchups we should be looking forward to. Mark?
That's right, Dennis. There is a lot to look forward to in this sports season during the fall semester. First up on the docket, though, was that huge matchup between powerhouse programs Florida State University and the University of Alabama. Alabama and Florida State on the field for what was a dream matchup, but it didn't end well for the Florida State Seminoles. First, you have the loss itself, which puts the Noles at 0-1 to start a highly anticipated season. And then you have to add injury to insult, and the Noles losing starting quarterback DeAndre Francois for the season with a knee injury in the fourth quarter of that game. But that won't stop the Noles from trying to play for a spot in the ACC title game and possibly the college football playoffs. So they still have a lot to play for after just one game already gone for the season. They'll have tough matchups ahead to get through, though. Rival Miami at home, Louisville at home in Doak as well. And then, of course, that Clemson game on the road, as well as rival Florida on the road at the end of the season. All those games await the Noles for the rest of the year, so Jimbo and staff still have their hands full after just one game this year. Jimbo Fisher takes away some confidence, though, from the Alabama game.
It was a very competitive, very hard-fought game. A lot of things we can get cleaned up, but at the same time, it's things that are very fixable. And walking away from that game, like I say, disappointed that we didn't have the outcome in which we wanted and some things in which we did at times. Still very, very encouraged that we got a heck of a football team in front of us and we can still do some great things and have a tremendous year. I'm very proud of a lot of guys who played in that game.
And on to the soccer pitch, and the Seminoles off to a pretty solid start for the 2017 campaign. The only early loss on the Noles schedule to, you guessed it, Alabama. But they did bounce back quickly to take a 4-0 win over another SEC foe in Kentucky. The Noles off to a hot 4-1 start thanks to some exciting play by Dana Castellanos and Megan Connolly, each having multiple score games so far this season. And not to be outdone, though, on the defensive side of the field, that shutout against Kentucky also increased redshirt senior goalkeeper Cassie Miller's career total to 42. That moves her into sole possession of 11th place on the NCAA all-time list. A couple of more non-conference matches on the schedule before the heart of the ACC schedule begins, and that will determine the Seminoles season from there on out. Finally, in sports, we go indoors and let's talk some volleyball. The Noles playing host to a home tournament in Tully Gym against Colorado State, TCU, and UNC Asheville. The number 15 Florida State volleyball team took down TCU, and they beat UNC Asheville to take home the second place in the tournament, the Home to Suites by Hilton Tallahassee Seminole Invitational, it's called. The Seminoles going 2-1 in its home tournament. The Noles bounce back with a lot of big matches this season after this tournament, Tennessee and Florida out of the SEC, and of course that ACC schedule that's always looming large with matches at home against rival Miami. Then you have Duke on the road, Louisville and North Carolina all on tap in the coming months. A lot to look forward to in sports this fall semester. Okay, that's going to do it for sports, but remember you can keep up with all the Seminole sports teams by visiting Seminoles.com. That's going to do it for me. Let's send things back to you, Dennis.
All right, thank you, Mark, for that update. In other news, it was a day to remember and one we won't see again for quite a while. The Great American Solar Eclipse. Here on campus, Florida State made sure it was a fun and memorable experience for everyone. Take a look.
Really, really cool. It's almost like a crescent moon. This is everything you say. It's kind of happens every, over 30 years, so I figure now is the best time to see it. And so I talked to my roommate. He definitely wanted to come see it. So we knew a lot of people are out here in the student union, came out to see it all together, so we wanted to kind of be a part of that. Right, I always enjoy being around, the fellow Seminoles here, and, it's always great to come out and be with your fellow classmates. It's always a great environment, everyone's really nice and really mellow, so it's always a great time with everybody out. Yeah, it kind of keeps things in perspective. I think oftentimes we think we're the center of the universe, so when things like this happen, it kind of puts things in perspective. It's like, no, you're just this one small thing in this globe, this massive universe that we live in. So it kind of keeps everything in perspective. So it's really cool to kind of, really see it.
And finally, Florida State University recently welcomed back one of its own. Celebrity chef Art Smith returned to campus to cook, teach, and greet students in the university's innovative new dining establishment, 1851. Smith has received the culinary profession's highest awards, and he's cooked for some of the world's most famous celebrities like Oprah Winfrey. Smith is executive chef and co-owner of restaurants in Chicago, Atlanta, Orlando, and Washington, D.C., and he now serves as FSU's Campus Culinary Ambassador, meaning dining halls on campus will serve some of Smith's most popular dishes. Well, in our final headline, we celebrate a tradition 20 years in the making here at Florida State University. That's right, opening nights at Florida State University is turning the big 2-0. In addition to celebrating 20 years of performances, Florida State University's annual Festival of the Fine and Performing Arts, opening nights, has unveiled its lineup for the upcoming season. From Michael McDonald to Yo-Yo Ma, world-renowned performers will be back on campus and in the community again this year to perform.
We're really excited about this particular lineup. It's our 20th anniversary season, and we've got some really big names this time around. We have Michael McDonald of the Doobie Brothers, George Benson, 10-time Grammy winner. We have some bluegrass at Goodwood, that's always a highlight. We also have, of course, the Silk Road Ensemble with Yo-Yo Ma, which people are super excited about. We had Yo-Yo Ma a few years ago, and we are thrilled to bring him back.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of FSU Headlines. But you can see more news from Florida State University anytime at news.fsu.edu. It's the official news website of Florida State University. For everyone here at Florida State, I'm Dennis Schnitker. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.